I'm finally getting around to changing the wheels on the black Carve 3. Figured I'd do a video so anybody curious can see what it takes to get these wheels off, and in this case 105 cloud wheels on. Here we go. I've done video like this before on the black Carve 1, black Carve 2, but the black Carve 3 is a little bit different because of the bearing size. So if you want to change out your wheels, just be aware you have to have 10mm bearings and 10mm spacing. I got them on Amazon. They're pretty cheap, but just be aware these are 10mm by 10mm. So the inside diameter of your bearings and your spacer have to be 10mm. Now you can obviously reuse the spacer that are in the wheels, but I'm just going to leave the bearing and the spacers in here. I bought new spacer, new bearings for this reason, so I could just leave these alone. But be mindful that the bearings inside the pulley are also 10mm, and you're going to have to figure out some sort of pulley setup that you want to use. So here's a stock pulley off of the board. It's a 45T. I just went on to Cloud Wheels site and bought their kit. So it came with belts, it came with pulley, and it came with covers. That's what I'm going to go with. These are 40Ts, so obviously it came with different size belts. These are 285 belts. What came off of the board, I had 300 belt. Quick note, upon getting this kit from Cloudwheel, I noticed that there's only one bearing. I would throw another bearing in here, but it's not machined down to where you can get another bearing in there, and I haven't had good luck with pulleys that only run one bearing. So I'm definitely going to throw a couple of the 10mm bearing in my bag that I ride with, because I have a sneaking suspicion that will fail. To explain it further, this is why I think it'll fail. So this is all one size from where the pulley sits to where the wheel sits. There's no step up or anything. And what happens is when the pulley goes on here and then the wheel go on, there's no spacer in between to keep lateral pressure off of this bearing. And anytime you put lateral pressure on the bearings, they fail. I might try to use some spacers and maybe space that out to where it makes contact with the bearing on the wheel. Then that will keep it from getting the lateral pressure. Fun fact, because of the different belt size and pulley size, I didn't even have to adjust the motor. I left it right where it was when I took everything apart. There's a visual on the difference in bearings. As you can see, the outside diameter is the same, but the inside diameter, that's an 8mm, that's a 10mm. This is what you need for the black Carve 3. That's what you need for the black Carve 1 and 2. So I wasn't able to space that out. The spacer, one spacer, not enough, too much. So I'm just going to leave it and carry extra bearing with me. That wraps up what you need to get different wheels on your Onsra black Carve 3. That's pretty much what I bought. I bought the bearing, I bought the spacers all off of Amazon, and then I bought the Cloud kit. You can go on their website, but there's the part number if you need it. That's the Cloud kit I bought. It seemed to work out great. The covers, the Cloud cover, don't fit. The holes are too close together, but who cares? It has covers on it. I just reused the Onsra covers. So that has it. If you're just here to see what you need, that wraps it up. Now I'm going to do one, just like step by step, what to do for those that this is your first board and you don't know how to do this. I'm going to try to walk you through this. So here we go with that. Let's get into that. All right, step one, obviously, take the wheel nut off. You can use your tool or socket, just remove that nut. Now, every step of the process, you're going to have the washers. I can't get it off, but they look like this. They're the 10mm washers. Just don't lose those. You need to keep those. Now, it's easiest on the rear. On the front, you take that off, the wheel comes off. It's super easy. But on the rear with the belts, it's easiest just to take this cover off and remove everything in one assembly. The pulleys do get stuck in the wheels, so it's easiest just to remove it all as one assembly. So to take the cover off, you need a 3mm Allen, and it's just 2 Allen screws. Just zip them out real quick. Now with the cover off, that can be difficult, I think, one-handed. Just lift and keep rotating back and forth, and that belt is going to walk up on that motor, and that's it. Now you have the entire assembly off. You can get that washer out so you don't lose it. And then you got to separate the pulley from the wheel. I just put something in between it and just kind of work my way all the way around, prying it off. Easier way, just use a screwdriver. This is what I had readily available. You need two hands, but just work your way all the way around, prying it off. I'm going to do some movie magic and get this off of here and be back. So there we have it. It eventually come off. You can see where the plastic kind of tore up where it got forced into the wheel. That's why it's so hard to get off. It's a snug fit. Now in taking that apart, check this out. The protective cap popped off of the top of the bearing. I have a sneaking suspicion that from lateral movement, but I don't know. Good thing I'm taking it apart. That bearing would have failed pretty quickly. All right, now we're going to take all of this old stuff, the 300 belt, the pulleys. I'm going to mark them pulley. I like marking what teeth they are and what they came off of. But we're going to set all this to the side and then gather all of the stuff that we're going to put on the board. All right, so here we have everything that we're going to put on the board. So you just start putting everything together. There's the bearing. It has to be pressed in even. I'm going to mess it up because I'm doing it one-handed, but you just want to press it in even if possible and as far you can get it. It will seat all the way down once we put it on the board. Then you put your spacer in there. Do the same thing with the bearing on this side. Just kind of walk it in there. If you get it to where it kind of jams sideways or it won't go anymore, it's okay to put something like anything, a punch. Here's a punch. Just put a punch on the outside of the race and just tap it. If you're hitting hard, you're gonna mess up the bearing, and you shouldn't be. So something going on, figure it out, but make sure that that spacer keeps sitting flat. If it rolls over sideways like that, when you compress that bearing, you're just gonna have to take it back apart, then sit it upright, and then put the bearing back in. So make sure that the spacer is sitting correctly. Okay, now that the spacer's sitting down in there correctly and we got our bearing pushed in as far as I can by hand, we're going to move on to the pulley. So every step of the way when assembling this stuff, you should have a spacer unless there's no contact, right? So this would be metal on metal contact. The bearing would make contact with there. So you want a spacer in between there. Now, I don't mess with the motor adjustment unless I absolutely have to. So in this case, I'm just going to put the belt around the pulley like this, and then I'm going to slide this on top, and then try one-handed. I'm going to force this over to where it makes contact, and then I'm just going to kind of spin and push down and just get it seated on there. And look, there's good play in that. There's what I think in perfect play. So you don't have to adjust, loosen your motor mount, slide it in, get the belt on, and then have to adjust it again. Just make sure that you're bringing one of the teeth over onto the motor, and then just kind of rotate it and while pushing down. So there we have it. We have the belt on. Now we're going to put the wheel on. Give it a couple taps to sit down on that pulley. Then, like I told you, metal on metal, we need a spacer. Then we're going to put the wheel nut on, and then we're going to tighten everything down. And what I like to do, I like to tighten it all down, snug it down, just to make sure that the bearings are set in there the way that I want them to. And then I back it off a quarter to half a turn. Trying to do it real time, one-handed. So that's snugged up. Now I'm gonna back it off. And I'm just going to check fitment. Make sure that nothing's rubbing. Make sure that everything's spinning freely. And then put on your cap with your 3mm Allen. And there we have it. So now we have the cloud wheels on the black Carve 3. Let's talk about a little bit about what you should have in your kit for people that are new to this. So you just changed out the belt size. You should definitely carry a set of spare belts for whatever size you're running. Luckily, I had some. They are 285 5s. So I have some. Those are going in my bag for when I ride this board. I'm also going to take 2 extra spacers, an entire set of 10mm bearings, and some of the 10mm washer or washer spacer, whatever you want to call them. I'm also going to carry those in my bag, and then whatever tools you need to be able to accomplish that, right? So there you have it. Now, final, what we have to do, we have to reprogram the remote. All right, so once you got all that done, the last step is to reprogram your remote with all the changes that you did. Now, depending on what pulley you did, depending on what wheel size you did, your number might be different. Just use this concept. First thing you're going to do is turn on the board. So the board's on. Then you're going to turn on your remote. So here's the remote. The buttons on the back, the 3 buttons, you hold that down for, I don't know, 5 seconds or so. The remote will vibrate and go into the menu. So the first thing that we're going to do is go into board. So the 3 buttons is the back, the power is enter, and then your wheel kind of scrolls. That's how you scroll. So the first thing we're going to do is go into board. Then we're going to go into motor type. Then we're going to go to belt drive. I know it's already selected, just hit enter on belt drive. So right there is where you can change your gear ratio. And it says right there on the remote, which is so handy, wheel pulley divided by motor pulley. So I'm going to look that up and do some math. I have no idea about all this, but I'll be right back with the data that I find and what I'm going to put into here. Okay, so I took all the cover back off and counted all the teeth, so you don't have to. There are 14 on the Onsra Black Carve 3, the way it came stock for me. There are 14 teeth on the motor pulley, and then you just have to know what pulley that you put on it. So let's do the stock Onsra, right? Because here it says 3.2, so let's check it. Let's do 45, that's what came off of it, right? 45 teeth divided by 14 equal 3.214. So it's 3.2. So in this case, because we went with a 40T, we're going to do 40 divided by 14 equal 2.85. So here, I'm actually going to go 2.9 because it's 857. So I'm going to round up. So I'm going to change it to 2.9. And then hit back again, go down to wheel size, and put in whatever wheel size that you're using. I'm using 105 cloud wheels, so I'm going to put in 105. Now the remotes are smart. They'll do all the calculation, and the speed should be approximately on now. If you don't change any of that, all of your speed, your mile that you put on the board, all of that stuff are going to be off. So that's how you finish it up by programming the remote. You hit back, and then it goes back to the board, and there we are. So Thanks everyone. Enjoy. Hopefully that helped somebody. If it did, throw it down in the comments. If it didn't, sorry. At least you got some entertainment maybe out of it. So thanks. Hope to see you on the next video. See ya.